What's going on, everybody? C4, welcome back to more C4. It is our reaction to not only I was hosting, had a bunch of buddies over, but the second game has completed between the Bengals and the Chiefs. So we're down to the Super Bowl. It's going to be my beloved, our beloved, for most of us that are watching this, Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, the Kelsey Bowl. Which I guess we'll finish this video just kind of previewing my feelings on that one. But this was an absolute ass kicking. I said in my preview that I was incredibly confident that this game wasn't going to be close. And obviously the context of why this game wasn't close is, doesn't make what I said a layup, because obviously the context of what happened with the quarterbacks for the 49ers couldn't have projected that. But still, I don't care how the sausage, I made a tweet, I don't care how the sausage was made. I said this game wasn't going to be close and ended up not being close. The Philadelphia Eagles still were going up against the number one defense in the NFL, even though I highlighted that Philly might have just a better defense anyways. But, they still had an outstanding defense. And I still think they did a great job. Philadelphia's offense wasn't particularly good. Obviously, we can run the ball on anybody. But I thought the 49ers, given the context, they had no offense, really. Their defense was out there time and time again. They did a good job on Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts did not, you could almost argue that was his most pedestrian game of the season. Maybe a couple big runs here or there. But, he a couple big misses, man. I feel like there was at least one for Devontae and a big one. Absolutely. A.J. Brown absolutely cooked Jimmy Ward. It was wide open, and he just overthrew it there. So definitely some plays Jalen Hurts wanted back, and I do think some of that is Jalen Hurts just did not have a good game. But I also think that's probably more likely the San Francisco 49ers, what they did on defense made Jalen Hurts not have that good game. But, it was an absolute ass kicking. That game was not particularly fun to watch. But, it looks like, potentially maybe something with Landon Dickerson, but it looks like we got out of our two playoff games with an injured Lane Johnson and an injured Jalen Hurts kind of being the two big injuries for Philadelphia. And it looks like we're going to be going to the Super Bowl and both those guys are good to go. So I think it's a win that we just get two clean. You can only play, you can play. And I don't know. Maybe I had to take someone. It was just, obviously, I will say, the Niner fans that reply to YouTubers on Twitter about football were pretty salty that the Niners lost. And I was kind of gloating a little bit that my prediction that this game wasn't going to be close was right. But I had someone that say I made the point that, if there's anyone to blame, I think it has to be the 49ers offensive line. Because Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt if they protect him. Brock Purdy got hurt on a routine sack. They were going for the fumble. There's a reason why defenders want to hit offensive players hard. There's a chance. You don't want to ever say you're going to go and injure somebody. And I would say probably most players, 98% of players, don't go out there to hurt people. But you also still want to try to hit that guy as hard as you possibly can to make a play. And that's what happened, man. The 49ers could not protect either quarterback. And on routine plays of them just getting smashed all game long, they got hurt. And I was like, you're basically cheering for injuries. No, they weren't dirty hits, weren't late hits, weren't missed penalty hits. They were, the 49ers offensive line was a complete liability, and their quarterbacks got absolutely destroyed. That's the nature of football. That's what happens in tackle football. And I'm for sure shit gonna gloat that. That was why we won. The Eagles won this game first and foremost. And I don't think it would have mattered if there was a healthy Brock Purdy. It's because they dominated the San Francisco offensive line. Fucking Trent Williams' best block came on a special teams play where he whipped Kevon Wallace to the ground. That was his best block all day. And what did Lane Johnson, he's probably 75%, 70% Lane Johnson with an injury that he has to already come and say he's getting surgery right away in the offseason. Oh, he just shuts down Nick Bosa. Outstanding job. And I'm not saying overall where we're at, but I think title for best tackle in the NFL got passed today. I think I went into this game admitting that, Trent Williams likely is, the top tackle overall. I think you got to give it to Lane Johnson after today's matchup, especially given the context and especially given the level that he played. Elite level for Lane Johnson today. The offensive line for Philadelphia was really good. I thought they weren't really helped out a little bit with some of the play calling. Felt like there's maybe too many inside runs that just weren't working. Given Brock Purdy got hurt, and they had Josh Johnson for a little bit, there was a lot of drives that felt like Philly really could have put their foot on the throat of the 49ers, and it was some really vanilla play calling that I wasn't a big fan of. But got the job done, man. So let's throw out some grades and let's talk about the Super Bowl matchup that we got in 2 weeks. So Jalen Hurts, I'll give him like a C plus, a C somewhere. Like he was not particularly good today. Was not at his best. I guess the anti-Hurts people will say, and I'm not anti-Hurts. The anti-Hurts people will say that was Jalen Hurts. That was like the Bucs game last year. Jalen Hurts, like a difficult defense, and Jalen Hurts, was kind of flustered. He did not look really that impressive. The other side is just that's what the Niners defense does to pretty much every quarterback they've played this year. And Jalen Hurts is no different. And that's just kind of what the Niners defense under an outstanding defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans, brings to the table. They're going to make every quarterback, be it Jalen Hurts, be it Josh Allen, be it, I don't know what Mahomes' stat line would have been, but be it any of those guys, they're not going to have a strong game against the Niners. So, I'm not going to be too harsh because he did make some plays. He did make some great plays. The catch that was it a catch, was it not a catch, was a ridiculous throw by Jalen Hurts. So, I'll give him, we'll give him a C+. All things considered, plus he made a couple big plays with his legs. But definitely need to see a lot better. We are not winning the Super Bowl if Jalen Hurts plays like he did today. But the Chiefs defense, which I actually think the Chiefs defense has been slept on, I think they're a pretty solid unit across the board. Even though there was an injury, I think L'Jarius Sneed got a pretty bad concussion. It looked like. I think that's what it was. So I mean, if he's out, what his health status is going to be for the Super Bowl? I think you could say the Chiefs defense not the same as the Niners, but they're not a rollover defense. But this Jalen Hurts cannot play like he did today, and I don't know if we can rely on the run game and our defense in a game like that. I feel like if you're gonna go and beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, your quarterback has to at least play a good game, if not a great game. So let's hopefully we see that at Jalen. The running offense was good. Kenny G. We've kind of talked about this a little bit of like, well, if Philly lets Miles Sanders walk, Boston Scott's in a contract year. Right now, as it stands, Kenneth Gainwell is the only running back. He's running back 1 on the depth chart as it stands in 2023. And this playoff push, he is playing like, yeah, we're good. We'll probably throw Miles Sanders like a team-friendly deal, but I don't think they're going to break the bank because Kenny G looks like he did at Memphis, where he was like, I can't believe he fell to the Philadelphia Eagles. That was my favorite draft pick that year. I was like, how do we get this guy? And it's been a little bit of a slow start. He's kind of showed flashes here or there. He's more of a, your utility, do-it-all back. But, like, he has been outstanding in these playoffs. And yet you're not going to gas up too much, 14 carries for 48 yards. But, like, a lot of those plays went for nothing. A lot of those attempts were, like, the boring, vanilla run offense not working. But when we needed a big play, we were getting the big plays. We were getting the chain-moving plays from Kenny Gainwell. We were getting a 17-yard run from Kenny Gainwell. So, I mean, the running, we got 3 rushing touchdowns, 148 yards against a very good rush defense. I'm going to give them a B+, give it an A-, B+, A- somewhere in that range. It's like weird when you get like 150 rushing yards. It's like almost a little bit underwhelming for the Philadelphia Eagles. But those guys there, those are great. I love. It's still just, I don't know, man. It's like a weird dynamic. Yes, Miles Sanders did get the 2 touchdowns, but Kenneth Gainwell out-touching him, it's weird, right? Like, doesn't that just seem like out of nowhere, if you will? Like, it has been a committee approach throughout this whole season, but like it's just like just in the playoffs, Kenny G's become the leader of this backfield. I don't know. It was awesome. Obviously, Boston Scott, 4 rushing touchdowns. Boston Scott getting in on the action. What? I'm going to give it an A. I don't need to be critical at all in this video. A for the run game. The receivers. You know what? It's like one of those things where I was surprised. I thought an advantage was the Niners secondary is not particularly good. But I think a lot of it was those linebackers in the middle of the field. That's kind of where Philly, they want the shot plays. 49ers were not giving up any of the shot plays whatsoever. So, I mean, the Eagles just kind of took what the Niners were giving them. And obviously that worked to the tune of 31 points to 7. But the receivers didn't have a particularly good game. But I'm not going to fault Devontae Smith. That was a ridiculous play. It's not a conclusive that it wasn't caught. Like, I'd say it's probably 80-20 that they would fall. But it wasn't something that was like, that's an obvious bobble. You'd look at it and be like, well, does he have it? The ground? It probably wasn't a catch. Like I said, 80-20 that it was not a catch. But that's on the Niners. That wasn't the Eagles' fault. Made a ridiculous play. We got to the line of scrimmage. They didn't throw the flag. That is on the 49ers. Their quarterback's getting hurt is on the 49ers. I feel like there's... Over on the offense, receivers, they didn't have to do a lot. They just get a C, right? But I feel like there's this, and I get it, there's a level of excuse that you feel it's valid. It's like, well, you know what? You beat us, but we had like no quarterbacks. Valid. But I feel like when you have like these excuses as to why you lost a massive game when you have so much that was still in your control. Right? You didn't have control that Brock Purdy would get hurt. You didn't have control that you'd be playing Josh Johnson or having Christian McCaffrey as a quarterback for some snaps. You couldn't control that. But you know what you could control is those guys not getting pummeled and having to use all those different quarterbacks. So that offense did not execute. You know what you can control is throwing the fucking flag when the guy obviously doesn't catch the football. You know, like a lot of the bullshit that happened to the 49ers in this matchup was self-inflicted. It's kind of like where the reality check, I think, is for all the grieving fans. I get it. It fucking sucks, right? You got this far with a third string quarterback or whatever. You had to go to your fourth and fifth string quarterback in this game. It's ridiculous. How much more shit do you guys have to go through this year? I get it. But you have to take a step back and understand that the reason why this game wasn't even remotely close is on the Niners. You could not protect your quarterback. You did not have any good situational awareness. I thought that was a shit game for Shanahan. You lost your cool. You had Trent Williams get ejected. You had Dre Greenlaw was like throwing punches, like trying to peanut punch after the play was over. That was a rough loss. That was not a good look for the 49ers, I think, across the board. I guess good news is you get to run it back next year. That'll be a cool game. That could be the season opener, right? Philly ends up winning the Super Bowl. You could see that either Eagles, Niners, Eagles, Cowboys will be the first game of the year. I think I personally would like to see the Niners win. Like, just run it back, man. Prove you're the better team. Looking at the defense, just kind of finish with the grades. Very good, man. Just, outside of that one very bad tackling play against Christian McCaffrey, which was an awesome run. That was the best play of the game, I think. The Eagles defense shut them down. I literally highlighted that our defense is better than their defense. And obviously, quarterback aside, it's very tough to, if Brock Purdy. I just don't think if Brock Purdy's in there, it's that much different than what Josh Johnson did. Maybe he doesn't fumble the snap, but I think Brock Purdy, it was going to be a bad, long day. Brian Dawkins said it best, as corny as it is, but it was like, what was it? Our dreams are their nightmares. Like, nightmares defense. Hassan Riddick was fucking unstoppable. Hassan Riddick was the best pass rusher in this game, and he went up against the defensive player of the year. I'm not going to say that, there has been a little bit of a narrative that, like, man, Hassan Riddick should be defensive. He probably should have been in the finalists. He probably should have had a seat at that table. But I think it's probably one of those things, if you extrapolate, I don't have any of the PFF nerd stats, like the double team race and stuff like that. Which is the talent Philly has on the defensive line, I would assume Hassan Riddick had the least double teams to get, like, the production they had this year. It was still a ridiculous year, and he was great. TJ Edwards was great. The secondary was great. Actually, I thought Slay was, I don't want to say he was at fault at the Christian McCaffrey run, but I'm pretty sure he was the first guy there, wasn't he? It looked like it was Slay and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson were there. Slay was the second guy to try to clean it up. Wasn't the best, and he had a drop pick. But, anytime your corners, Slay and Bradbury, you got 33, it's all against context, right? The quarterback wasn't throwing the football. But, still, that's the stat line. It is what it is. And anytime you're a corner and your Deebo Samuel goes for 33 yards, Ayuk goes for 10 yards, you're not going to fault them too much. They didn't have too much to complain about. Defensive line was ridiculous. Javon Hargrave, that's, we got to win the Super Bowl, man. Javon Hargrave is not going to be a member of this team next year. There's a chance, very likely, that James Bradbury is not going to be on this team next year. There's a chance that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, TJ Edwards are not going to be on this team next year. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, like that. This defense, while we have the draft capital, is going to not be as talented next year. There's just no way that we're going to be able to keep this group together. So the performance that we saw today, that was outstanding. We got to show that again in Kansas City because it might be a little bit of the last hurrah of this epic defense that we have. So we got to appreciate it while it's here. I give the defense A in this one as well. They were outstanding, and they single-handedly won the game by fucking blowing up Brock, Big C Brock or Brocky. Just my God, man. I get it, man. The Niners haven't won. When you haven't won, when you're in that drought, you become an incredibly corny fan base. The Eagles were like that. I get it, right? It was bad. It's not much more satisfying when you get that win because I just couldn't believe the confidence of Niner fans. I do believe it because you're going to be blindly faithful for your team, but I can't believe how many people seriously were like hitting me with like, no, seriously, C4, Niners are better than the Eagles. I could not believe that. This was always going to be the result, and now we get to see Philadelphia take on the Kansas City Chiefs. I was hoping for it. It wasn't really. It was kind of a coin toss, though. I think both Kansas City and Cincinnati are good teams, and they would be the toughest teams Philly's faced this year, either one of them. But push comes to shove, I think I'm a little more worried. And again, I don't want the A's because it's like 1A, 1B. But I feel like looking at the matchups, I was a little bit more worried about Jamar Chase, T. Higgins than I was Travis Kelce. Right? Obviously, both quarterbacks are great. Mahomes is better. And I don't know if I want to say, like, oh, yeah, I wanted Mahomes in the Super Bowl because he watch it. He'll age terribly. He'll have 9 fucking touchdowns and be unstoppable and go in God mode. But I do feel like in terms of matchups, I feel like, you know, a good safety against Travis Kelce has kind of been a little bit of his arch nemesis. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is very much a good safety. Having him, T.J. Edwards, I feel like Philly's a little more suited to that than someone like Jamar Chase, because Philly can give up the big play every now and again in that secondary. So, but again, it is what it is. I think, obviously, the massive advantage would be Philly against Cincinnati. That offensive line, City's offensive line is garbage. But it's a good Super Bowl. That is an exciting Super Bowl. A lot of interesting storylines. Andy Reid going back to Philadelphia. You get the Kelce brothers. I for whatever it's worth, it's like 2 black quarterbacks, first time ever going at it in the Super Bowl. Like, that's important. That's an important, at least, conversation to be like how far the game has evolved in that department. So, like, there's a lot of interesting storylines going in this matchup, and I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl. I will have, like, a preview video probably a little bit closer to the fact. But let's go, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. Second Super Bowl, and since my kid's been alive, my kid his first year was when they won in 2017. What a spoiled brat. I went like 20 with nothing, and he's coming in right away with 2 right at the bat. So that's awesome, man. Niners fans, the good ones, the non-salty ones, you got served kind of a shit sandwich here today. Valid to complain. You can't be like, oh, you beat us with Josh Johnson. Yeah, we beat you with Josh Johnson, right? I'm not going to gloat on that fact, but just admit, just at least hear me out that, like, at the end of the day, these were self-inflicted wounds by the 49ers. You can't blame the Eagles for the Niners' failures here today. Actually, you can't, because we were the better team. We were the better team. It sucks. I would have loved to see, honestly, if you told me we could have at least had, in hindsight, Philly was winning, but it'd be 31-27. I would have preferred that because it would have been a more exciting game. But that wasn't the case. Philly handled business, kicked the shit out of both teams, and we're on to the third one. So, I'll see you guys then. If always first time stopping by, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I think it's impressive, the amount of things that have been consumed today that I was able to make this video. But we got through it. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.